Hello there, it is Pete over at the Sampleist, and today we are checking out the free Kontakt 8.6 update from Native Instruments. Native Instruments have continually evolved their flagship sampling platform, Kontakt 8, for many years. I remember when I resumed creating music in 2018, with Kontakt 5 opening a whole new world of possibility to me. Fast forward to 2025 and Kontakt 8.6 shows how far the sampler has evolved in terms of functionality, tools, and ways to make our composing lives easier. In their new Kontakt 8.6 update, Native Instruments have added 5 new tools. These tools include an Arpeggiator, a Chord Builder, a Humanizer, Scale Lock, and Velocity Curve Control. In this video, we will take a look at how each of these tools can be used individually and then chained together. Kontakt 8.6 sells for £269 and you can get an update from earlier versions of Kontakt for £89. It is also available in different editions of the complete package. Do check out the Native Instruments website just to see exactly which versions of Complete contain Kontakt. And of course, we also take the opportunity to thank the developer, and Native Instruments haven't sent this over for us because it's a free update. However, I do want to thank them for just continually updating Kontakt. It's amazing to see how it's evolved. Of course, this video is going to be in a slightly different format, so I'm going to go through all the tools, give examples using instruments that I feel reflect the tools well, and then at the end, I'm going to just put some different tools together and just see what kind of things we can create. So without further ado, let's continue with the video, and please make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We're going to begin the video with a quick setup. I've loaded up the preset setting Dark Clair. It is absolutely beautiful. We can access the tools in 2 different ways. We can either click on the Tools tab there, or we can click Tools at the top. So I'm going to just click at the top. It brings up all the tools. We can see there are 8 different tools now. The 5 new ones are Arpeggiator, Chord Builder, we've got Humanizer, and Scale Lock, and Velocity Curve. So let's say I want to add the Chord Builder. If I click on it and then double click Chord Builder, it's there at the top now. So if I hold down any key, I'm going to get a basic major chord. If I click disable, that goes off. Turn it on. Okay, so there's a couple of major triads going on. If I want to add another one, I can just click there and it will bring these up. But if I just load a new one in, it will replace Chord Builder. So I'm going to just click the plus again. And let's say I want the Arpeggiator this time. Double click on it. The Arpeggiator will load at the top. When I hold down a key, it's going to play a lot of D chords. So of course, I've not actually set these yet. So yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but that is the basic setup. So you can chain them all up, as many as you want. You can put all 8 in there if you really, really want to. Let's just play one more just for fun. So this is one of the patterns, and exactly. Okay, so you can see those are all working together. So let's have a look at the first tool. The first tool we're going to check out is the Scale Lock tool. I've loaded up the Noir Pure Emotional setting. Absolutely beautiful piano. I've already loaded up the Scale Lock. I'm going to click Enable, but when you do load these up, they're already enabled. The idea is you can choose any key you want. You can choose a tonality, major or minor, the scale, so Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, and then more specialist scales as well. And you can effectively make it so no matter what you play on your MIDI controller, you're going to stay within that key. I've chosen D because I did my little intro in D, but you can see if you just click on the letter of the key and drag it up and down, you can change different key. So we've got major, minor scales, and then Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixed Lydian, Locrian. So there are the modes. Obviously major would be Ionian, minor would be Aeolian. What I'm going to do is just play chords that I know fit in D major. Okay, so that all sounds fine. Now, if I play notes that don't fit in D major, we're going to have some different chord extensions. But everything fits together. If I play something completely random, so I hit virtually every note going that was out of the key there, and it still worked. So let's just go minor. So that's me playing, knowing how it all fits together. Let's play something that doesn't. And you could hear some repeated notes there because we got this what to play if you play something out of the scale. So you can have nothing and it'll sound very disjointed. Or you can have the lower note. Okay, so there's a lot of repetition there. Or you can have the higher note from what you're playing, which is incorrect in the scale. Okay, so I was purposely, like I say, hitting incorrect notes, but for the purpose of like I say, if I use a sustain pedal as well. Okay, so that's still going on. Yeah, there seems to be a little issue I've noticed with the scale lock. If I just turn that off, it turns the sustain off. So I will investigate that a little bit later. But if I go whole tone and I go to, I don't know, D sharp E flat. So very cool for writing different parts. If I go diminished. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Lydian flat 7, why not? Yeah, you get the idea. So you can lock to anything you want to, any key, and it makes your playing sort of flow better, and it can make things a little bit more creative in terms of chord extensions and, you know, sort of different things that work in different places. So yeah, that's the scale lock tool. The next tool is the velocity curve tool. Really, really useful. I used to set this back in the days when I used complete control a lot, and just having this tool can make your life easier. So I've loaded up the nylon picked guitar. It's one of those that I use a lot, especially for my spaghetti western music. Now, we've got the velocity curve tool loaded up, and really, really useful tool. So I've already been playing around with it. You can adjust the shape. So you can make it, if you play really lightly, and then just apply a bit more pressure, it's going to be a lot louder. So you can be very, very expressive, or you can adjust the shape. So it's generally lighter, but if you play harder, or you have to play a lot harder to get louder notes out. So it can make your playing more expressive, but you may encounter instruments within Kontakt from different developers where you want to shape the velocity curve a little bit more. Very, very useful tool. And of course, you can limit the curve. So if I just go on to, got zero shape as it were, and then that's obviously 1 to 127. If I want it to be generally quite quiet, so you can see that I'm hitting that one at like around 110, but it's not going above sort of 42, 43. And then you can also make it so everything is ultra loud. Yeah, don't know what that trill was all about. Okay, really, really useful, quick tool to have. And there's also sort of different ways you can adjust. So you can see the curve can change. So there's an S curve, compounder. Sorry, compander, and fixed as well. So you can just have everything at the same velocity. Yeah, helps if you play chords that actually match. But the interesting thing is, it's really quick and easy to use, and you can apply it to any instrument. That is tool number 2. Let's go at have a look at tool number 3. Tool number 3 is the Humanizer Tool. So the idea is it makes the MIDI instruments sound like a human is playing them. If you work on the grid and you use a lot of quantize, then the Humanizer Tool can be really, really useful. I'm going to play just a basic Claire sound. So it's absolutely gorgeous piano. And now we're going to humanize it. So first of all, I'm going to use the velocity control. If I bring that up to 100%, this is going to really exaggerate it, but you can hear some notes jumping out at you. And of course, some are very, very quiet. Depending on how you play and how you want to program velocity, if I set it to around 20%, So it's a bit more natural. You can adjust the delay as well as the samples. Again, really good if you're working on the grid. So if I set it to 100 milliseconds, I play the note and I can feel a delay. A bit swing there. And then you can adjust the pitch. So if I put this on 100%, it's actually set to a 12 semitone range. It's going to sound all over the place. Yeah. But you can adjust it ever so slightly. So depending on the kind of instrument you're playing, you might want a kind of detuned effect. It's quite interesting. So I'm just going to put some delay on, a little bit of velocity. You got this seed. I'm not going to lie, I'm not 100% sure what that does. I'm not entirely sure. If I just do some playing, we can just see what it looks like on the grid. So really basic. I'm not using the sustain pedal. I'll turn the click off and then we can have a quick look. So that's where we're at now. I've clearly been editing videos because we're on over 128. So this is what we've got. Now if I quantize that, there's obviously something dodgy going on in the MIDI there. And again, just by adjusting the Humanizer and playing different so different parameters. Now this is going to sound completely different. So I'm going to bring the pitch down because on the piano we don't really want to hear that. Yeah, there's something there that's obviously bothering me, but hey. Now it does save you adjusting. So for example, we can see like my velocity is a bit all over the place. So I would manually go through and do that. We've got no sustain going on. So maybe if I draw in. This isn't how I normally do it, but I'm just quickly doing it for the purpose of the video. That is very rough. Okay, so I'll play it now. So I'd use the, I'm turning the sustain off there. I'd use the velocity quite sparingly. So now I've brought it down a bit. So it's down to, where are we? 11%. So like I say, the Humanizer is really, really good if you're working on this on the grid. So by that I mean you're hard quantizing everything. You can do soft quantize. I'm using Nuendo, so you just click that button there. And I've set it to 60%, and I use that quite frequently to humanize. But this is great because it humanizes more than just one parameter in one go. And it can be very creative and create some really interesting sounds. I'm thinking if I'm doing horror music, I'd use that detune quite a lot. So there we go. That is the Humanizer. Let's check out the next one, which will be the Arpeggiator. Here is the Arpeggiator loaded up with an instance of Noir. Let's just play a single key. Yep, I've done absolutely nothing to play around the Arpeggiator. If I play a chord, because we want to hear some arpeggios, we hear an arpeggio. Lovely. So let's break it down. First of all, in the middle, we've got 16 steps. Now you can adjust these by using the step count. I'm going to keep it on 16, and you can adjust the velocity of each of these so you can make it sound a bit more natural. If I do that. Absolutely lovely. And then you can adjust whether it's playing in 16th notes, 8th note triplets, etc. So if I go quarter notes, very, very slow. I'm going to bring the volume up a little bit. It's only because I've brought the velocity down. So let's go to 8th notes. Okay, so I'm playing 2 octaves apart there. You can adjust the swing as well. So give it a swing feel. And then you can adjust the duration of the notes. And of course, it's all tempo sync. So I'm just going to bring the duration down to 100% again. Let's go to 8th note triplets. You can add an extra octave for each of the notes. And then you got 1 time repeat on. If I change it to 2 time repeat, plays each note twice. And then as I'm playing a a triad, sometimes I might put the root down and then the 5th down and the 3rd. Okay, so you can adjust the note order. It can play everything you're holding down, just going up, down, up and down. So of course I've got an octave on, I'm just going to turn that off. Down, up. Okay, so get some really quick arpeggios playing, and then random. And then some chord. Okay, so I'm just going to put that as played, and then table order, you can adjust where it goes. So that's going backwards, then forwards. Random. So it's incredibly useful for when you want to create some quick movement in your pieces. So I've got this Stradivari cello loaded up, and I've already set this one up. So if I play a chord progression, and of course it is all tempo synced to your DAW. You can easily add your own notes to each chord, each arpeggio. Really, really interesting tool. If I just go to 16th notes, we'll do 16th note triplets. So So it's moving incredibly quickly. I'm gonna actually go back to eighth note triplets. I'm gonna add some octaves this time, just play lower down. So you can easily create some really interesting parts. Let's look at the final tool, which is the Chord Builder. Finally, we have the Chord Builder tool. I've loaded up the picked nylon again. If I press any key, we're going to hear a major chord. Lovely. At the top, you can adjust the type of chord extension you want to use. So we've got minor. Okay, so I'm playing minor chords that are out of key there. And then you can add a sus2, sus4, -7. And you can see that all of these different voice settings are changing. Minor major 7. Takes you back to my jazz degree. If I play a diminished 7. We're always taught that is the someone's tied to the train tracks in an old silent movie, and they use moving diminished 7 chords. Lovely. Power chords, root 5th. Now, you can adjust these as you see fit. So if we're on the root, we can add an octave or 2 octaves above it. Lovely. And then the second. And I'm staying with a power chord because there's no third I can move around. However, if we do play around with a third, you can see you can adjust it by major, minor thirds, or perfect fourths, fifths, etc. So obviously I made that so it fit with a perfect fifth. If we do a perfect fourth, I can see the chord changing. So that's a D, G, A. Lovely. So you can play around with these different settings. You can adjust the velocity of each note as well. So that way you don't have just a sort of pounding chord going on. It's a bit more humanized. And that's the Chord Builder tool. So lots of different chord extensions, different ways to play around with it. Finally, we're going to chain together some of these new tools. I've loaded up an instance of Claire. We're using classical Claire for this example. And then we got the Arpeggiator, Scale Lock, and Humanizer. So I've set something really, really simple. We've got an octave, we have a 1/8 triplet and 16 steps. And then if we go to the Scale Lock, everything is going to be in C major because my composition is in C major. If I was composing, I'm not. That's what I would do. And then I've added 17% velocity and 1% pitch just to get a little bit of variation. I'm not planning on doing this on the grid, so I've left the delay as it is. But if I was composing and hard quantizing, then I'd be doing that. Then, of course, we've got Claire at the bottom. So no matter what I play, we should be in C major, and we should have some really interesting arpeggios. Okay, so yeah, that sounds interesting. I like it. I'm going to bring the pitch down. That's just to show that even a tiny amount of pitch can have a little effect, because you did notice, hopefully, that one note was slightly out at least. Now, I'm going to add, let's go for Realm. So great native instruments, reverb, and I want to make it quite spacey because I'm doing something I'm doing some underscore. There we go. Let's go again. Yeah, it's beautiful. Sounds like someone is playing it using the Humanizer, and then of course we're locked to the key of C, and the arpeggiator is just giving that sort of really interesting sequence. Now, if I just play anything outside of C just for fun. Yeah, it tracks so well. It just works absolutely lovely, really. Yeah, as a composer, it's the kind of thing that I use all the time. I use arpeggiators. Instruments don't have arpeggiators sometimes. Really, really great to have. But the ability to stack all these together is absolutely wonderful. At the end of every video, we present our closing thoughts. And really for this one, it is a big thank you to Native Instruments, because they're considering their customer base, the people who use their software, their instruments, and how can they continually improve the product they create. It really depends on your perspective on how you would use these tools. If you are a seasoned composer, you may use them to create inspiration to send your compositions into different directions. If you are new to composing, maybe you're not so confident in your skills or your playing skills, so you want to create an arpeggio. Well, now you can program it, you can hold down some keys, and you've got your arpeggio. You can play a different chord progression, and you've got it. And I've got to say, I have done a lot of composing. I've got a lot of tracks out there, and I would use these tools because they can improve my workflow. I use Arpeggiator plugins all the time. I adjust velocity curves. I am continually in Nuendo using different methods of humanizing the MIDI that I'm inputting. So you have all these tools at the touch of a button, and I think that is really, really useful. So I feel like this update appeals to new composers, seasoned composers, people who just want to adjust their workflow, who want to speed up what they're creating. There just isn't a single negative about any of these tools. So I'm not going to start looking at, I wish Native Instruments would do this or that. I'm really excited just to see how they progress these tools within Kontakt. So, do I recommend it? 'Cause we always talk about recommendations. Well, there's a whole argument between full and free version of Kontakt. I always recommend getting the full version because, again, it opens your composing world up to so many different non-NKS libraries, and there is so much out there. So I think having more options is always a good thing. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Native Instruments for once again updating Kontakt 8. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a like on the video, and of course drop us a comment. What do you think about these new tools, this update, and is it something that you're going to be using? And of course, if you've not done so already, please check out our other videos and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have a great day and keep creating that beautiful music.